Welcome back. Hello to all the new subscribers. Thank you for all the kind comments and likes and shares. And if you are new, don't forget to subscribe. We've got a really interesting topic that we're discussing today, and that is the difference between price and value. And there is a massive, massive difference. Now, cost is the thing that jumps to mind, and everyone's always conscious of cost and always almost a bit anxious about cost when putting it in front of a customer or talking about it in general. But let's park cost. Let's remove it from our minds, right? When you're giving a price, what you're really doing is you're aligning the value of your product to how much the person thinks it's worth, the value they see in it as well. When you bring those two things together, there should never be a deficit. A couple of really good examples, right? So think about a rubber rowing boat. Sitting at your desk or on your phone now, if I was to try and sell you a rubber rowing boat, you'd probably pay $15, $20, maybe £20 maximum for a rubber rowing boat. But what about if you were drowning in the Atlantic Ocean? What then happens to the value of that rubber rowing boat? Well, obviously it goes up naturally. Now, the rubber rowing boat hasn't changed. It's exactly the same rowing boat. So the product itself is identical to what it was. The price point's different and the value is different because of the need that you have for it, the circumstances you're under to want that particular thing. And this is exactly the same when you're positioning a product as well. Like positioning a product when you haven't built the value is a complete waste of time because it's always going to be expensive. Your objective as a salesperson is to try and truly understand the problems, the pains, the business initiatives, or even the opportunity that it's worth for a customer. Because then when you position your product and you drop the price on the customer, the value of it or the deficit of that value is much smaller. Now, things always seem expensive. People always tell you that's too expensive or we don't have budget for it. That's fine. That's often a negotiation technique or a tactic, but don't worry about that. Now, here's something that's really, really interesting. There's also the supply and demand of something as well, right? If you think about, I don't know if you guys remember something called Beanie Babies, but in the 90s, these were these like plush toys or like basically toys with a load of beans inside them that you could position and maneuver. And they were just like every other toy in the market. But for some reason, there was a degree of scarcity to them. And they were incredibly collectible. So what this meant is that you'd see really long queues of people outside toy shops at like 5 a.m. looking to buy these Beanie Babies and paying over the odds for these Beanie Babies as well. Now, fast forward to modern day, 20 years ago, or 20 years forward, I should say, people are paying for people to take away their Beanie Baby collections because they're worthless. And this is all about the need that the purchaser has. If you've identified a need, the value of the product goes up. This is where it becomes even more interesting. If you can position your product against the overarching need of the business, the value goes up even higher. So as an example, if one of your key goals as a business this year was to grow by 20%, which represents $1 billion as an example, if you've got a product that can enable or help that growth, first of all, you're speaking to the right people in those conversations, people who can actually influence the conversation, people whose target it is to achieve those goals. And they understand the ramification of that, how that affects shareholders or the overall survival of the business. Then the value of your product goes up. If you go a layer deeper to a department where like a sales department or a finance department or an HR department or wherever you sell your product or service, at a departmental level, the value is never as high. Even though it feeds into an overarching business goal, these guys are usually given budgets to solve problems, but they're localized problems to the budget holder. As soon as we can get a layer up and sell into the very top of the business and align our product to the overarching business goals of that company, the value goes through the roof. So just remember, when you're delivering that price, if you're feeling a bit anxious or you're not convinced by the price point you're about to put in front of the customer, don't do it, because that is a clear indicator that you haven't built enough value first. You haven't got tangible metrics that demonstrate the value and how your product can help. Give these techniques a go. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, share this with anyone else you know in sales. This is completely free content that I want everyone to be able to access to make them better at selling. Thanks a lot, guys.